Uh,
No, it wasn't ZANU-PF. It was a prophet.
but he's one of yours. He's a ZANU-PF prophet.
No, ZANU-PF is not a church. It does not have its prophets. Let me just switch on some lights. I think I'm in darkness here, am I?
Yes.
Let me see.
ZANU-PF uses those prophets so that they are not suspected of what they're actually doing.
Who the heavens is talking?
Huh?
Right. We've got a beautiful lady here called Ronita.
Ronita, I can't see her face.
So today,
There is my face.
so we said today we need some sharp brains. We men, we tend to be wanting to bully everyone around, to bully the entire country. So let's get these women in and to just shake us about a bit.
We are here.
Beautiful. Well, folks, I think we can get started, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, it's a good afternoon. It's a good evening. I don't know what part of the world it is. It's probably afternoon where you are. This is Zimai, and we're just coming to you today. We've got an assortment of contributors. These are analysts, these are academics, these are critics, these are part of the community, representing just about every section of our community. Today, we're just going to briefly, for just less than 30 minutes, discuss the future of Sadc vis-a-vis Mnangagwa. Will Emerson Mnangagwa make it? And I'm joined here tonight by, I'll start from my right. This is Wilbert Mukori, one of our analysts. We also have Dr. Mavaza. He's not a stranger to our programs. He's been around for a very long time. He also writes in the Herald and several other publications. He's on VOA and many others. Dr. Mavaza, good evening.
Good evening, Simba. Good evening, Wilbert.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Well,
good evening.
Well, yes. And today we said it's important for us to have a representation from a neglected and yet the largest, the majority of the country here. These are the female intellect. Okay, these are the people who brought us into this world. Ronita, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, Simba, for giving me the opportunity.
Wow, thank you. And is this enough in introduction? Do you want to expand on how I've introduced you?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you very much, our viewers, readers, and listeners. Will Emerson Mnangagwa make it? He has just gone through an election here where the other contender, Nelson Chamisa, who fought against him, upset him in a very big way. And not just that, here we had in Zimbabwe since the 2018 elections, the first condemnation against our national elections and the first bunking as well. Kubanka, kusawia, kusata turn up of an inauguration that the entire continent bunked. Hakuna kana one, there's not even one who came, save for 3 personal friends of Mr. Mnangagwa's at the inauguration on the 5th, or is it the 6th of September? But let's just briefly jump in here. I would like to start with Dr. Mavaza, and then we'll go to Ronita on this topic. Please give us 3 minutes, Wilbert, 3 minutes. Will Emerson Mnangagwa make it? Sadc versus this time. Dr. Mavaza.
I think it is a rhetoric but a nonsensical question, because make it way. He has already made it. Just today he arrived from United Nations, where he was welcome as the president of Zimbabwe. There were no questions asked. He had meetings with the various presidents of other countries. What we should understand is that SADC does not dictate what should happen in an election. They only observe. When they observe, they give recommendations. What do they expect is the recommendations will be carried forward and will be abided by in the future. We abide by them in the next elections. They are learning points. They are points to learn what have we done wrong, where do we correct? Because in every election, in every country, there are mistakes which are made, and they are learning points, and they are takeaway points. So the people get confused. They think Sadc means they are going to come and say do a re-election. No, we are a sovereign country. Zimbabweans have spoken. They have chosen the president of their choice, and he happens to be Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. And again, Nelson Chamisa is lost, and it's unfortunate. Um, it's a nature of a competition. Those who lose, they will try everything. They will run. They will blame the referee. They will get a referee who is biased. Anything can happen. But no amount of bias from any observer which can overstep or overturn the will of the people of Zimbabwe. So yes, in short, we have already survived. Emerson Mnangagwa has survived. Zimbabwe has survived. ZANU-PF has survived. We responding to your question of the inauguration, Simba, we did not miss anybody at the inauguration. To start with, the first issue you need to understand is we had every diplomat of every country which we are friends to who are in Zimbabwe. And again, we had the president of Zambia, who was engaged in some other activities in his country, he sent his Minister of Foreign Affairs. That's the work of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Anyway, we had the president, of the former president of Zambia, Comrade Lungu, attending as a former president. Because inauguration, we invited presidents and former presidents. We had former presidents from South Africa and the current president. We have presidents from different countries with a special envoy of His Majesty, the King of Swaziland, and His Majesty, King Letsie of Lesotho. So the region was well represented to the level we had expected. And with presidents who came from other countries as well. So we are not worried about filling the stadium with presidents. Inauguration is not done for those presidents. It's done for Zimbabweans. The stadium was full of Zimbabweans, jubilant Zimbabweans, who were happy that we have won our elections, regardless of negative comments from those who had wanted to see us falling down. And again, we need to realize that the Mumba Commission, which was masquerading as a Sadc observer, yes, it did not say a thing to say the elections should be rerun. They simply pointed out what they think was a shortcoming. And yes, we learn from our shortcomings, but we do not start votes. So international observers and observers worldwide do not make elections to be redone again. So in short, Simba, and in short, Mukori, there is nothing to lose sleep over about the coming Sadc. What is coming in Sadc now, it will not be a discussion on Zimbabwe. They can give us advice if they wish. We will take it if you want to. But the truth is, we have won. And I'll tell you one thing which you have not realized in conclusion, Simba, Ronika, and Mukori. ZANU-PF is agreed to have a new elections, and it's only that they've agreed to have those elections in 2028. So wait for 2028. We're gonna have new elections. We've agreed. We need new elections, but that will be in 2028. So there is nothing to worry about. 2028 is coming. You start preparing now. If you feel aggrieved, prepare now. Cover all your holes. One thing you had forgotten. Um, Nelson Chamisa had actually declared a day before elections and a month before elections and a year before elections that this year Emerson Mnangagwa will not rig elections. They've covered all the rigging places. And yes, surely to his word, no election was rigged. So I don't understand where this noise is coming from. Because even the opposition had told the whole world that this year there will be no rigging. And indeed, there was no rigging. And we want to thank Comrade Chamisa for now for agreeing that there will be no rigging of elections. And indeed, there was none such.
Dr. Mavaza, thank you very much. I'm sure you're done. Thank you very much there. And here we are. This is Dr. Mavaza's rendition. Let us shift to Ronita. Give us your 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Simba, and thank you, fellow citizens. I'm terrible with names. There's Dr. Mavaza, and there's
Wilbert, yeah.
Wilbert. Thank you, guys. Yes, I think what Dr. Mavaza has spoken about, these are things that we hear constantly from none other than ZANU-PF mouthpieces. They are obviously interested in one thing, the continuance of the dictatorship at whatever circumstances. They don't want it to change because it benefits them. They're talking fondly about Zimbabweans, and this is mere misrepresentation. To cut to the chase, I don't believe it's Sadc that is responsible for what ZANU-PF did or how they decided to run their elections. I've heard the issue of Chamisa declaring that there won't be any vote rigging this year. I also ask what he really meant. That's a big question. I believe there's no way for him to know what ZANU-PF was going to do. He had no access to that information. So I think we need to understand what he meant. I hear that ZANU-PF was voted for by the Zimbabweans. They were the choice of the Zimbabweans. There are many things that actually show us, prove to us that what ZANU-PF did to manipulate the elections, those were not mistakes. That is an understatement. Those were their strategies that they planned using government intelligence agencies and several agencies from Sadc, the ones that did the election registration and all the other preparations for the election. First of all, there are things that we've never heard of, not in Zimbabwe, not in any other country. And we ask ourselves, why would ZANU-PF do this? And how would they benefit? That's what proves ZANU-PF's intentions. The first thing is, in my view, who decided who would have votes? I mean, all of a sudden we were told that there was a shortage of ballot papers. How do you go to an election without ballot papers? Was it the opposition that caused that? Was it the Sadc committee or anything like that? No, this was ZANU-PF and ZANU-PF government. Remember, ZANU-PF doesn't maintain separation between their party and government. They treat them as one. So ZANU-PF, in the preparation towards the elections, first they would decide which rallies to ban. They use ZRP to ban rallies, and only one party experienced that. That didn't affect ZANU-PF at all. That is the inequality of opportunities to the voting audience. And how were these banned? Was it last minute, or they were given information in advance? Those are things that people have to think of, especially educated Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans are people that brag of being educated, being brilliant, but they've tolerated this nonsense for more than 4 decades. That's what is baffling. In addition to the rally banning, there's on the day of voting, there's a sudden ballot shortage on the voting day. I saw people sitting around, some even sleeping around. others even crying of hunger. Others went back home. Nobody knows if they came back or not. Sadc definitely knew this in advance. Why did they tell any I mean, did they make an announcement? And did government make appropriate actions? I believe ballots are like a prerequisite for any election, especially if you're in Zimbabwe. You cannot go, it's like having a soldier going to war without a gun or the necessary weapons. What are they going to do? Go and be slaughtered. So that was one weapon that was used by ZANU-PF against opposition. They used, this was a ploy. Ballot shortage was a ploy to create 2 voting windows. ZANU-PF needed 2 voting windows. And who made the decision of who votes first and who then votes 7 to 10 hours later? Obviously, it was Sadc in guidance of ZANU-PF and the ZANU-PF government. And what choices did they make? It turns out the ZANU-PF strongholds had the first voting slot. As they were voting, it was easier. It must have been easier for ZANU-PF to make sure that they have the numbers of votes that they have before the other strongholds for opposition started voting. If the voting was simultaneous, this was going to be difficult. So what you guys are calling a mistake, it wasn't an error. It's what ZANU-PF wanted to operate. If they did not want to do that, they would have postponed the voting until they had enough ballots. So that one is out for me. Before the voting, actually, the Constitution makes it a right for opposition parties to also have access to the voters' roll. What happened? CCC was not given access to the voters' rolls. Why? Why would government defy the Constitution? CCC thought, since this is a constitutional right, we could take it to court and the court is going to enforce what is in the Constitution. They took it there. What did the court do? You guys all know the results. The court threw it out and told them it was not important. Is the court in a situation where are they able to work against the Constitution? Are they supposed to be defying the Constitution, or they're supposed to make sure that the Constitution is adhered to? What does the shortage of ballots do? It creates unequal opportunities, and that defies the free and fair voting, and that beats all these things. This defies all these things that we have been claiming, that the elections went very well and people voted in their thousands, and this was mishandled. That's what I come up with. Apart from that, we also realize that
I think it's 3 minutes now.
If you could try and roll down, thank you.
So the difficulties that were brought forward, that were implemented, all worked against one party, that was the opposition. And who made these scenarios occur? It was the government and their agencies. And we can't have the same people telling us that everything went perfectly. And this is where I'm totally upset with people that know nothing about Zimbabwe, like Ramaphosa, who then says, oh, these were mistakes. People in South Africa vote from their homes. They vote from whatever country they are in. They don't operate like Zimbabwe is operating. We are not dumb, and we don't want to be treated like this. And to the question, will Mnangagwa make it? It also depends on what people mean by making it. If we mean, will Mnangagwa fool Zimbabweans again? Maybe. he's already done most of it. Maybe he will do the rest. It depends on Zimbabweans, on how they handle it. If they speak up, if they speak out, if they raise their voices, and if they make it known, I'm encouraged. Many Zimbabweans are talking now, and they understand exactly what is happening. If ZANU-PF thinks they have fools around them, no, that's not true. Yes, there's a cultural aspect of worshipping politicians. It's not going to happen. So that's my contribution. Making it depends what we mean. I think
Wow.
ZANU-PF has been exposed, and that means they haven't made it.
Wow, Ronita, thank you very much. Here we are. Wilbert, shoot. And by the way, we do have folks. This is an abrupt and impromptu story that's just been dropped here, and I'm hoping that maybe we can, as we get to the end, also talk about it. The complaints that have been raised in Zambia that claim that Edgar Lungu, the former president, is being abused. I'm sure you've seen these, Dr. Mavaza, right?
Not yet.
Okay. At least you haven't. But they're there. There's an article that's on the BBC, and some analysts are claiming that Edgar Lungu is being abused because of a ban to his it's called political jogging. There's some joggings that he's doing that are like a rally. Wilbert, your 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Simba.
I apologize for stretching a bit, allowing Ronita to stretch, because I felt that we have not had that much of a balance, especially from the other wing, the largest wing of our population. So it's important for you. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Simba. I think we need to understand the background to this whole election process. Elections are more than just an exercise of your democratic right to have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. It is actually the very essence of good governance. Zimbabwe is a failed state. That is a reality that we have got to deal with. And the main reason for it is that we have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. The 2008 were a watershed election in the sense that that year, unlike all the other previous years, Sadc and the AU also agreed that the elections were not free, fair, and credible. What our friend here, Dr. Mavaza, and some of the ZANU-PF apologists and propagandists have been saying is, the Sadc observer are there only to observe. They do not say anything. They do not say the elections should be rerun or anything. No. The truth of the matter is they are observers. And at the end of the day, they make their own report. And they, in this case here, just as they did in 2008, they clearly said this process failed to produce a legitimate result because it was so flawed. Just as the 2008 elections, they clearly said this election process has been so flawed, it cannot produce a meaningful result. This is what forced ZANU-PF to accept the global political agreement of 2008, which led to the government of national unity. This is a repeat of that. It is deeply regrettable that the 2008 to 2013 GNU their primary purpose was to implement the democratic reforms to make sure that there will never be another rigged election, wanton violence in Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, none, not even one meaningful democratic reform was implemented. And this is why we are where we are today. And the important thing about these elections is that in the past, in 2013 and 2018, ZANU-PF, yes, it wasn't as dramatic as 2008, but nonetheless, the process itself was flawed. And Sadc and the AU rubber-stamped those. And ZANU-PF got away with it. ZANU-PF expected a repeat of that this year. It didn't happen. Sadc and the AU decided enough is enough. These elections were not free, fair, and credible, and they condemned them. And I think, Siba, you're asking a really appropriate question. Will ZANU-PF get away with it? Yes, Mnangagwa has gone ahead and taken his oath of office, and so have the MPs, the senators, and the councillors, and even the opposition have joined in to taking the oath of office and taking up their gravy train seats. Will that make this government legitimate? The answer is no. Mugabe did the same thing in 2008. And Sadc said, no, this process failed to produce a legitimate government. And he was forced to accept the government of national unity. So the same thing is happening this time. But this time, I think he may get away with it, because it's so happened that this time South Africa in particular are keen to give ZANU-PF legitimacy. They've said it in November last year in their own party resolution that ANC will not allow regime change in Zimbabwe. Now, that normally is an outrageous statement. It is not for South Africa to decide who is going to govern in Zimbabwe. That should be obvious to everybody. But in this particular case, that is exactly what ANC meant by that. They knew ZANU-PF would rig the elections. And what they were saying is, if ZANU-PF rigs the election, we'll see to it that it's rubber-stamped and they're granted legitimacy. And so South Africa, just as much as ZANU-PF, must have been really surprised when Sadc and the AU turned around and said, no, that process was so flawed, it failed to produce a legitimate government. South Africa is the dominant brother in Sadc. We can pretend whatever we like, but they are the dominant one. Will they pressure Sadc to accept the results and water down that report? It's possible. You can't rule it out. So in my view, he may still get away with it. But I think it will damage Sadc itself and the AU seriously if they were to accept that a process that their own election observers had condemned as being flawed and illegal and could not produce a legitimate government, they suddenly turn around and say, well, those were challenges. Those were not challenges. Those were fundamental. One of the fundamental problems, for instance, is the failure to produce a verified voters roll. This is not just in one ward or a few wards or one constituency or a few constituencies. The verified voters roll was for the whole country. We failed to produce a verified voters roll for the whole country. How can that process be free, fair, and credible? That is what we are looking at here, Simba. And I think in this particular case, I would like to see Sadc stand firm and say, no, that process was flawed and illegal and failed to produce a legitimate government. The last thing, the one thing we want is to have another GNU, so we've got the opportunity to implement those democratic reforms that we failed to do in the last GNU. I'll rest there, Simba.
Better.
Well, thank you very much. Here we are. Folks, will Mnangagwa make it? Just to read a few comments here. Divine Charles is saying, what are we supposed to do? Because we're trying to cry out loud. They're going to deploy the army and shoot us. We all know because it is a good idea to demonstrate and get killed so that our families will have no one to look after. Okay, so this is Divine Charles. Someone here says, William Ponina says, Simbachi Kanza Mnangagwa is all right, serving his last term of office. So I don't really understand the meaning of your topic. Elections are done with in Zimbabwe, except for a few confused individuals and some other pseudo media practitioners. And then right here we are. Let me read some more comments here. There's one that yes. Right. Oh yeah. Okay. Herbert Mawajgo says opposition must stop being crybabies. It is politics. The process gets tough getting into elections. It's a do or die. It's a real war. Opposition that want to rule work harder. Smell the coffee. No ruling party reform that will reform themselves out of power. Gents and ladies, I hope you're here.
Yes, it's my turn now.
Okay, right, yeah. Brief responses. We're about to wind down.
Thank you. As you wind up, I just wanted to please don't make it brief because I've got two people to respond to who are right. equally confused. Firstly, let me talk about my brother here. You see, Mkori, ZANU-PF is not running an illegitimate government. ZANU-PF is in power because it has been put there by people. Yes, we can have a lot of people talk. It is expected. Chamisa got 1 million plus voters. Those, if they all start talking, it does not mean that people are talking. It simply means the minority are talking. The majority are quiet. Why? Because they've won elections. We have no time to waste. So what we should do is to come together, the opposition and the ruling party, and move on, develop our own country. We cannot start fighting. We cannot start dragging the name of Zimbabwe into the mud. We cannot start saying things which are useless, which would actually deprive our Zimbabwe from going further in its economic development. We have goals to meet. We have targets to meet. We have a country to run. When you lose, yes, losing is not very good. We know that. Nobody loves losing. I don't want to lose as well. But when you lose, you must lose with dignity. You must be a good loser, not a bad loser. A Triple C is becoming a bad loser. And unfortunately, their leadership are not brave enough to stand up and say, my comrades, we have lost. Let us follow the rule which people of Zimbabwe want. The majority rule is if we are ahead with one, with plus one, 50 plus one, we have won. We had 52, more than one. And therefore we have won. Whether it was a close shave, whether it was a close tie, whatever we call it, we have won. And we thank the people of Zimbabwe for that. So it is surprising that my sister Ronica here thinks that she's dumb. It's not ZANU-PF which thinks you're dumb. You think that yourself. Because we know people of Zimbabwe are not dumb. They are clever. And why they are not dumb and why they are clever? Because they voted for the party they want. We never voted ourselves into the party. Now, to answer Comrade Mukori here, I need you to realize clearly that there was no mistake in coming up with the voters' roll. The voters' roll was there. It might have had a mistake here and there, which was clearly sorted before elections. And again, Mukori, so that you can understand this from now on, the opposition saw this voters' roll and they participated willfully into the election, which means they had accepted that whatever they were complaining about was minimal. So they went ahead with the elections. They never stopped the elections. They never protested. They never said we are participating under protest. So this shows you that the opposition was very sure everything was up to standard according to our Zimbabwean standard. The opposition had already assured you in the world, assured you, Kanza, assured Ronika, that ZANU-PF will never rig. And I agree with opposition. We never rigged. And these elections, we won them fair without any rigging. Yes, elections are expected to be free and fair, but these elections were both they were free, they were fair, and they were very transparent. Yes, we could have a lot of criticisms and some negative comments from other
Our father is opposed.
Differently. An observe whatever he sees. We cannot tell an observer to observe, but we are not guided by the observer. We are simply reminded on what to do next. So in short, what has happened here, elections have been done, ZANU-PF has won, we are now, the president was inaugurated, we are now in power, and we are now running the country. And we are running it for the best interest and to the best interest of each and every Zimbabwean. President Mnangagwa is not the president of ZANU-PF, he is the president of Zimbabwe. And now, because he's the president of Zimbabwe, he is the president of Nelson Chamisa, the president of Ronika, the president of Simba Chikanza, the president of Wilbert Mukori, and the president of Opol Chimkonyo, whatever name it is, he is their president. And we all have to go before our president and see, liaise with him, what we need to see changed in the country. Look at the mayors elected by Triple C. They have taken office. They are happy. They are running the cities now. Whether they are running them down or running them up, they are running the cities over the election, which you guys are saying was not free and fair. But they're in office and they're happy. The parliamentarians, the members of parliament for Triple C, they rushed, they drove very fast to parliament for swearing in. They were not forced. They were so happy to sit there. They were so excited, taking selfies to show that they've earned their seats, they've won them. They'd never said, no, these elections were not free, they were not fair, so our win in these elections is not accepted. Why did they accept? Why did they go for their own swearing in ceremony? We saw Ostalos there. We saw Fadzai. We saw a lot. All of the voted in members of parliament of Triple C. They were sworn in. Not even one said no. I don't agree. All what they were saying, the message they were giving people of Zimbabwe was, if you are bitter, it's up to you. As for me and my party, I'm going to be sworn in. And they went to be sworn in. And they were telling their president, Chamisa, to say, Chamisa, you lost. We didn't. We'll be sworn in. Because if there was a genuine complaint, they would have refused. Like in 2008, they refused to participate. They refused to take any part until there was a GNU, because they knew that was not free and fair. And the president then, Robert Mugabe, accepted that, yes, we had lost and we are going to rerun because we didn't lose as much as we should have. Even Tsvangirai was ahead. He did not have 51% or 50 plus 1. So because of that, Tsvangirai had 49, Mugabe had 47. It simply means none of the two had the power to be the president until there was a rerun. So you could see that Tsvangirai said, no, the elections were not fair. I won't do a rerun. I will have my people killed. Chamisa said, no, the elections were fair. There was no rigging. God is in it. So I don't know what God was talking about if now he turns back and say God ran away from it. If God is in it, then he was in it and he's still in it. It does not change because they've lost. It simply showed you that elections are won by those people who have campaigned thoroughly and truthfully, and those people who are trusted by people. And why ZANU-PF
I'm
is
going to ask you to roll down, sir.
Yeah. In conclusion, ZANU-PF has been winning elections since 1980. So we have so much experience to win. So we do not lose because we are winners, and we do not change the winning team. Zimbabwe is cleverer. They cannot change a winning team. They put ZANU-PF back again. And finally, Ronika, there is a difference between ZANU-PF and the government. It can be the government comprised of ZANU-PF ministers, but it is not ZANU-PF which is the government. It is the government which is ZANU-PF. So there's a great difference there. Thank you, Simba.
Oh, Dr. Mavaza, thank you very much. Well, right. Although I think you stretched a bit too much there. Right. So, Edgar Lungu, who was the only Zambian senior official at Emmerson Mnangagwa's inauguration, he has complained that he is being abused because his jogs, political jogs here, as they are now called in Lusaka, have been found to be. I mean, look, he complains that look, he should be allowed to run and campaign. Well, basically, excuse me, I'm adding a bit of few words there. He does jogs. And then what happens with these jogs? They end up being activities where people join him in jogging, and that becomes a campaign platform. So the article that I'm talking about right now is on the BBC. And by the way, who is Edgar Lungu? Edgar Lungu is the former president of Zambia, the man who was criticized by the Human Rights Watch organization for extreme violations of human rights and working hand in hand with Emmerson Mnangagwa across the Zambezi for several years during his tenure. A man who assisted Mnangagwa by deporting Tendai Biti, a man who is accused of also rigging the 2016 elections, and a man who viciously abused numerous UPND youths and members for a very long time, for years. And a man also who swore, lastly here, he swore after leaving that Hakainde Hichilema would be lucky to complete his 5-year term. And is he being abused, or it is Edgar Lungu himself who is the abuser? This is a brief one. We want to run it down in 5 minutes and then shut. Wilbert, are you going to give us a short one?
Well, I really don't know the full details, but if he is being harassed by the state authority in Zambia, that is the unfortunate thing about African elections, that we really are failing to understand the important principles of democratic accountability. We always have this mentality that those who are not with us are against us. So you find with even somebody who has lost power, they do not accept when they've lost power. I think Zambian elections that got Hichilema in, I think they were free, fair, and credible, and Lunga lost. And in his case, if he vowed that he's not going to let Hichilema rule, so he could be the one who is disturbing the peace. But again, that is the unfortunate failure to understand the importance of free, fair, and credible elections and accepting defeat honorably. But also, on the other hand, if it's the government that is harassing him, that again is another problem with our failure to accept the democratic principles. So I think in this particular case, I don't know the full details, but either way, I think that's one of the unfortunate realities of Africa. We tend to go round and round in circles, and I think it is because we do not have strong democratic institutions. That is one of the problems.
We can't hear you, Simba.
Oh, sorry. Ronita, shoot. Is Edgar Lungu being abused, or he himself is the abuser? I think she's mute. Okay. Dr. Mavaza.
To start with,
okay, Ronita is back.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ronita, is Edgar Lungu, the former president of Zambia, being abused, or he himself is abusing? This is a man who just recently he complained saying he had been blocked from going to a medical in South Africa At the same time, he also complained that he was blocked from traveling to a peace summit in South Korea. And at the same time, so the medical coincidentally happening at the same time with this peace summit. And then now he's complaining that his jogs, dubbed political jogs, have been illegally and unfairly stopped. Is he being abused or he is the abuser?
I believe that from the little that I have heard, Edgar Lungu is part of a ZANU PF operated system set to destabilize Zambia, uh, originating from several events that have taken place, including the recent observer mission, which was headed by Zambia, I believe, at the Zimbabwean elections. ZANU-PF itself has spoken openly about uh, them working with, about their involvement with some Zambian groups. And the Zambian groups themselves have spoken about their collaboration with ZANU-PF, in the same manner that the South African ANC figures, their top South African figures that have also spoken openly about how they collaborate with ZANU-PF, how happy they are with whatever is happening in Zimbabwe. They don't see what Zimbabweans see, and it is up to those of us that are able to see to say it. So with Edgar Lungu, I think whatever is happening is he should not expect the government of Zambia not to react or take steps to protect themselves. I'll quote ZANU-PF leaders here. I think one of them was the vice president. He commented that the army will intervene when each time they think that our independence is being interfered with. All he meant was he was talking about elections. And as my other brother stated, we don't hear much from ZANU-PF. And if Southern Africa is not careful, ZANU-PF will destabilize the Sadc region. They will use the money they get from their corrupt activities to bribe, pay off, and supply weapons, and simply destabilize Southern African region. South Africa, the ANC is a toothless bulldog right now. They have spoken openly themselves, and it's yet to be seen how this will affect Zambia. I believe the Zambian government will take steps according to what Lungu himself has shown them. That's my response.
Wow, Dr. Mavaza.
Thank you, Simba. I think I have to be blunt here. I don't know which planet Ronika comes from, and I don't know her obsession with ZANU-PF, because she is totally lost and confused as far as the party is concerned. ZANU-PF has no power whatsoever to interfere in Zambia's the issue behind us, or the issue ahead of us now, before this panel, is that the former president of Zambia is not being allowed to jog. When he goes in the street jogging, people love him, they follow him, and then he stops to talk to them, and they say, "Yeah, running a rally." This has nothing to do with ZANU-PF, and that is abuse of the authority of the government to stop. When Chamisa goes to the shops, people gather around him and he talks to them. It was never regarded as a rally. He would address them and go away. As long as he's just walking, he goes into, okay, the shop is filled with people. That's what Lungu does. If even today, if Mugabe was alive, if he walks in the street, people will gather and start screaming Gushungo, Gushungo, even though he was no longer the president. If he talks to people who are greeting him, his fans, his supporters, it does not mean that it becomes a threat. And again, Lungu said because the opposition is inefficient, he did not see them finishing their term. He did not say that you will disturb it. He said because of what they think is governance, they will not finish a term. And guess what? Last week, we all know, actually, March, and he actually made an announcement to say he is not going to stand in 2026 because of the failures his party has done. And the video is there. It was on the Zambian Broadcasting Corporation, and it has been published everywhere. This has nothing to do with Lungu. Actually, Veronica, it's a disappointment to hear a person with a motherly instinct to say you must punish your enemies when they are down. You don't do that. Democracy means if you lose, you don't have to be punished. You have to stay freely. Even if people were not free during your time, you must show the person what freedom is, not by punishing him. So it is said. I agree with Mukori to say that's the sad thing about African politics. To say once you lose power, you have to suffer for it. Most African leaders, when they lose power, when they leave power, they're chased out of the country. It's very few countries where those people stay. In Zambia, presidents have stayed there and they've died there and were buried there, except Kaunda who was chased away by Chuluba. But after Chuluba, another president who came took embraced Kaunda. Mugabe, when he was removed from power, he remained in Zimbabwe until he got so sick and go for treatment. In South Africa, all the former presidents are in South Africa. So, but some other countries, no, we don't have them there. They run away. And that is what we are promoting, Veronica. It's a shame because that's not what's supposed to be done. If you are a president and your term is finished, you don't have to be afraid to stay in your country. It is our country. It is both you and me and the president's country. It's our country. And Zimbabwe is the only country you can call ours in the whole world. And we must love it and we must be allowed to do what we want. If you want to jog, go and jog. If you want to walk naked like Zodwa Abantu, go naked. It's your freedom. But do not ever insult ZANU-PF simply because you don't understand ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is the most peaceful party in the world and in Zimbabwe. And thank you.
Okay, yes. I apologize. It was staying sticky. Okay, it was getting sticky. So quickly, our viewers, witnesses, these jogs, and I've put a title here on a poll on our Twitter portal, and it says here, crowd jogs after saying HH won't finish his term. Is Lungu being abused, or he is the one abusing? Okay. Right. So you've got the poll. Please vote. We're also going to post it here. We're going to need to rush to literally close our session tonight. And we would like to just run through, where do we start right now? We just need 1 minute. And if we could give each person here 10 seconds to just declare where Emerson Mnangagwa, and if Emerson Mnangagwa is going to make it this time, after being criticized and being bunked by practically the entire African continent. For 10 seconds, give us your views as we shut. Wilbert, do you want to start?
Yeah, personally, I think
10 seconds, 10 seconds, strict 10 seconds.
I think he should not be allowed off the hook, period. Those elections were rigged. There is nothing illegal about his regime. And we have got to end this cycle of rigged elections. And the only way to do so is have this GNU so that we can have the democratic reforms finally implemented.
Wow. Okay. So, Wilbert is a GNU advocate, right? You want a GNU?
Yeah.
Okay. Ronita, 10 seconds as we shut. Closing remarks. 10 seconds strictly.
This is a government that was formed on the basis of corruption. It will be corrupt. ZANU-PF has run 2 dictatorships in the last 4 decades. Nothing good will come out of ZANU-PF. I'm a Zimbabwean. I'm not a member of the CCC. I'm a Zimbabwean. ZANU-PF is a dead horse. They're just corrupt. That's all that they do. Violence. Their violence is to promote their corruption. This will not work for any Zimbabweans. That's why we are all in poverty, dire poverty, and the political elites are billionaires and multimillionaires. Zimbabwe is not a poor country. It's poorly managed. ZANU-PF will not make it. I'm done.
Thank you. And just for my 10 seconds.
Yes, Dr. Mavaza, 10 seconds, please.
The president has already made it. He is now sitting at the seat in the State House. He is now the president of Zimbabwe. And for those who are dreaming, you can dream on. You cannot say ZANU-PF is corrupt because it won elections. You cannot say ZANU-PF must not be allowed to be off the hook. There was no hook in the first place. There was elections and we won straight. And ZANU-PF is going to continue. And Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa will be the president. Come 2028, we will be having elections. So if the only thing you can do now, prepare for 2028 because ZANU-PF is going nowhere. Thank you.
Here we are, viewers witnesses. It's a very good evening to you. Tonight here we just converged briefly to speak about the future of Zimbabwe, the future of Emmerson Mnangagwa inside Sadc. And we've also touched the matter of Edgar Lungu across the Zambezi and so many other things. Join us tomorrow. And as we continue on these topics, these and other topics, I don't know, gents and ladies here, if there was anything that I missed tonight before we shut.
We'll continue for another hour. I think if there's anything missed, let's have it tomorrow.
Wonderful. Splendid. Here we are, viewers, witnesses. Full house tonight. Here, if you came late, you can rewind. I can see here we've got over 800 people watching at the same time on all our pages combined. Don't miss tomorrow. So press the green button, press the bell, not just to subscribe, but the bell, so that when we go live tomorrow at 7 p.m. British time, you will be here, and we can tomorrow we'll have an important guest from our community on the ground. Okay, thank you very much. Someone is saying here, Simba, I wish you can connect me, Simba. Okay, come through to the inbox so that we can see what we can do. Tinashe Madzio. Thank you, gents and ladies. Thank you for tonight.
Thank you very much, Simba, and good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
Bye-bye.
And by the way, someone was saying, Simba Chikanza, you, are you alive? Well, I am alive. Who told you that there's anything that has happened to me? Zimbabweans here, whoever said this, this person is supposed to take his prescription. He's supposed to download the the Med Orange app, okay, and get some prescription. No, I'm not insulting him. I'm actually being real here. He was advised because of some ailment on his hands that he needs to get some medication so that apore. So the link is below. Just alert him if he ever posts anything. Just tell him to download the Med Sugar app. I think I've actually got someone here who advised him. Let me just quickly play it as we shut. Thank you.
Zvona saniko iwewe auna chawinacho unongoda kunyepera vanhu kuzungaidza vanhu atisi mabharanzi ako isusu shamwari kana une mari iwewe baba rare vakakudza wani pavidhiyo kuti dai wadownloada Med app kudhara wakapona mezi idzo dziri kutokunetsawo wai uchidaro ione mari. Vane mari tinovaziva nekugadzira maskini. Enda unogadzira skini yako iwe ibva mani iwe. Java unototi irritata, unototi boa. Iwe Java titiswe newewe bharanzi zvaro risingatomboziva kuti zvinofamba sei. Basa kungokambira zvausingazive. Hauna mari iwewe. Dai une mari iwewe. Dai wakatodownloada app yeMed Orange. Kudhara wakatorapwa mameza aya asiri kutomboita. Hazvisi kuita unge wakakwata nebreach. Gadzira skini yako iyo.
But isn't the water I would remember maro. Saka even ndakanzi ndarumwa nemosquito ndaita malaria. In 24 hours nenda tokiwa, nenda torapwa boss. I can afford best doctor in the world. I can afford anything that I need to. But when it comes to health, and Mnangagwa ngori clean and monari sensitive. Kuti vamwe pavepfeka mamask apa ine ndainorwa kana manjection ekuti even ndakasamana neCovid ndine mask andibata. I don't know if you understand that. It will not make sense kuti ndinofamba nemabodyguards. When I say bodyguards, ndasiya nevanofamba nemabouncers. Difference between mabouncers, mamonya anokonzi kuyaumira miraya, but mabodyguards vanhu vanogada munhu ane value pabody yake. Haachazi security guards, haachazi tingamati machekwa. Hapana timu inongotera vanhu yakapiwa masutu zvimamonya kozoita anonzi mabodyguards ekuti anogada iwo because zviri pabody pako zvakakosha. Why would I decorate my body nemadiamonds negold ndotaridza kuti zvirapa malaria? That is my point.
Introducing the future of pharmacy convenience. Say goodbye to long queues or sending money home to purchase medication for those in need. Say hello to hassle-free medication access. Order your essential medications online from anywhere in the world for delivery in Zimbabwe. We deliver to your door. Or you can collect. The choice is yours. Experience the convenience of online pharmacy services. Download the Med Orange app now. Med Orange, your health, your convenience.
Hello, Simba. Are you still there?
Still here, thanks. I'm just playing this so that at least people know. At least people know that I'm around.
My quick remark on that one is that I think this is again one of the things that stifles debate, meaningful progress for the country.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you talking of somebody dying? It's not. It's the most unpleasant thing. Is it supposed to be a threat or what? I think this is something.
Yeah, it must be a threat. It's not the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that we really need to address and deal with, because that is what stifles debate, and that is the strategy that ZANU-PF has always used. You come to a platform, you start abusing everybody, you think you are the only one who should be heard. It's a culture that has been there, and I think that is something that we really need as a society to address.
Sorry, Wilbert, I got cut off there. I was saying that, the power of social media. I was just saying, you see, yesterday I even made it very clear, even in the afternoon when that thing was posted, that I was around. I mean, I even talked to people over the phone. Just that, of course, throughout the day, I was a little bit too busy. I was working on some research and stuff. So for someone to actually believe, a young man who doesn't even have an A-level certificate, a young man who is well known for benefiting from ill-gotten gains from the ZANU-PF state. I am baffled how Zimbabweans can do that, and yet the real stories, Wilbert, that are affecting their lives, they don't pay attention.
Yeah, it is true.
And it really boggles me, because then how are people going to change their lives if they spend a whole day chewing fake news? Fake news that is easily verifiable with a mouse click, a simple mouse click. So how many other fake things are being published out there and people just feed? So next time when Mnangagwa finds out that maybe you are angry, let's just say, Wilbert, these dictators, the next day that they discover that, you are not in a certain mood that works for their frame of leadership. So now they know all they need to do maybe is to press a passion Java button, and people will spend the whole day debating and thinking nonsense. Is that not the case?
Well, it is. Unfortunately, that is true. But also, you've got to remember, yes, Simba, that this regime has got so much leverage. If you're looking at the Zimbabwe situation, they control the state media. They control everything, even the so-called independent medias. They have got ways of putting pressure on them so that they give favorable coverage. And so therefore then the idea of threatening somebody, diluting, sending fake information, is something that they are good at. And it's most unfortunate that we have not really addressed that problem, so that we could now start focusing on what really matters, the issues that affect ordinary Zimbabweans. And I think it comes back to what we were talking about earlier on: free, fair, and credible elections. Until we get over that one, but I honestly don't see how we're going to ever get out of this mess. We need to address the problem of rigged elections, and until we do that, forget it. We're not going anywhere.
Wow, here we are, folks. So those who have been posting comments and the like, Ndilipo, just take a screenshot here. If you want to talk to me, I can actually throw a live button here, and you can talk to me directly. And and somebody saying here, Gondai Bobhani saying, I think we need a more realistic approach to these social platforms. Yeah, a more realistic. Thank you, Mahere. Sungs Mahere says, long live Simba. Thank you very much. Yeah, somebody saying, I think they need to ban all social medias. But don't you think it's about people fixing their hearts? It's what the people need to burn on their hearts here, so that they can reform and they can change the way they perceive and the way they make their decisions. But Wilbert, it's not the first time in the last year that someone has said things like these. Somebody's just dropping in here. Gilbert Nyaruwembe is also saying, are you alive, Simba? I saw something on the media that you've passed on. Right, as they're saying that they need you dead. Well, but now mbodikoni manje. Because ndakafa kudhara manje. And azvimbondityisi because ndakafa kudhara. Well, thank you very much. Wilbert, which next article should we look out for? Your article tonight.
Well, Simba, you are the journalist.
That was random. That was random.
You pick.
That was quite random, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was just a way of just getting stuff here. But I do have to encourage people, Zimbabweans, to read and write, analyze, read and write, analyze, and the like. Okay. Thank you very much. So here we go. We're gonna shut, folks, and thank you very much. And let us catch up tomorrow, 7 p.m. We'll be back here. Thank you
very much, Simba, and good night to everybody.
Cheers, Robert. Thank you.
Azvona saniko iwewe hauna chawinacho unongoda kunyepera vanhu kuzungaidza vanhu hatisi mabharanzi ako isusu shamwari. Kana une mari iwewe baba rare vakakuudza wani pavhidhiyo kuti dai wadownloada made app kudhara wakapona. Mhezi idzo dziri kutokunetsawo. Wai uchidaro ione mari. Vane mari tinovaziva nekugadzira maskini. Enda unogadzira skini yako iwe ibva mani iwe. Java unototi irritata unototi boa. iwe Java titiswe newewe bharanzi zvaro risingatomboziva kuti zvinofamba sei. Basa kungokambira zvausingazive, hauna mari iwewe. Dai une mari iwewe, dai wakatodownloada app yeMed Orange kudhara wakatorapwa mameza aya asiri kutomboita, hazvisi kuita unge wakakwata nebreach. Gadzira skin yako iyo.
But ndinotora kuti ndiri nemaro. Saka even ndakanzi ndarumwa nemosquito ndaita malaria, in 24 hours nendatokiwa nendatorapwa, because I can afford best doctor in the world, I can afford anything that I need to. But when it comes to health, ndiri munhu agara angori clean and munhu ari sensitive zvekuti vamwe pavepfeka mamask aya paine ndainorwa kana manjection ekuti even ndakasamina necovid ndine mask handibata. I don't know if you understand that. It will not make sense kuti ndinofamba nemabodyguards. When I say bodyguards, ndasiya nevanofamba nemabouncers. Difference between mabouncers mamonya anokonzi kuyaumira miraya, but mabodyguards vanhu vanogada munhu ane value pabody yake.
Introducing the future of pharmacy convenience. Say goodbye to long queues or sending money home to purchase medication for those in need. Say hello to hassle-free medication access. Order your essential medications online from anywhere in the world for delivery in Zimbabwe. We deliver to your door. Or you can collect. The choice is yours. Experience the convenience of online pharmacy services. Download the Med Orange app now. Med Orange, your help, your convenience.
Thank you very much, Zimbabwe's nation around the world here. Someone has just posted a comment here interacting with me and asked me here that Simba, how far near Zambia? Thank you very much, David Musani. David Musani is asking me about the developments that happened in Zambia and that must happen, that are happening right now since the 23rd of August, when I managed to track one of the gold mafias, a man who is supporting, promoting, strengthening the gold mafia network in Africa, a man called Harry Kalaba, and a second man who is called Nevers Mumba. Contrary to what people didn't know, Nevers Mumba is not all that clean. I'm sure people have already seen his video in which he is campaigning. This is a video of over 8 minutes in which he's campaigning for Emmerson Mnangagwa and Hubert Angel, and he's telling people that they should not criticize or demonize Hubert Angel and Emmerson Mnangagwa. He says that Emmerson Mnangagwa and Hubert Angel are doing what is good for Zimbabwe by smuggling gold, by doing what they're doing. And he says that the reason is that there are sanctions in Zimbabwe, and so they know best. They must be allowed to do what is best for the country. This is what he says in that video. And so what has happened so far, David Musani, just to let you know, what has delayed me in this expose is Nevers Mumba. Nevers Mumba, the Sadc observer mission head. And the reason is I soon discovered a lot of things around Harry Kalaba. I discovered that he's not alone. Those will remember that soon after I exposed Harry Kalaba on the 23rd of August, the following day in the morning, he announced on live television that what he did is even supported by Nevers Mumba. Now, what this has now revealed to me is a very, very deep and dark web. I hope you're listening to me, David. Please give me an affirmation so that you know. What this has revealed now is something that is really deep about dark operations that are done by the mafia, and Nevers Mumba being one of them. And it has required for me to draw back and do further digging. And the article that you see on the Zim iNews network today, that is titled Nevers Mumba gives green light to Hubert Angel and Emmerson Mnangagwa to use the Zambia Court of Arms to say that the opposition is using sanctions to rig elections. That article has had to be researched on and produced with the pile of evidence, live videos, written documents, and a whole cache of research from 1996 all the way up to 2023, and revealing, among other things, that Nevus Mumba has been a twin of Mnangagwa since 1996, per his own admissions inside the interviews and per various recorded footage since their Johannesburg conference, him together with Andrew Tanas's chief prophet in 1996 in South Africa. So basically, what this has done, so people can understand, is that it has had to now come clear, very, very clear that Nevus Mumba and Emmerson Mnangagwa planned, engineered their way to power in 1996 at a conference in Johannesburg with Andrew Taunashe, Emmerson Mnangagwa's prophet, where it was announced that Emmerson Mnangagwa would be president of Zimbabwe and Nevus Mumba would be president of Zambia in a so-called prophecy. So when that so-called prophecy was announced, Nevus Mumba and Mnangagwa's chief prophet were there. So two men were going to become presidents of both Zimbabwe and Zambia. What happens after that? In less than 10 years, both men, while on their fast rise to power, Emmerson Mnangagwa is already planning a coup at the Cholocho Declaration with Jonathan Moyo, Philip Chiyangwa, 2003, 2004, until he is demoted. At the same time, Nevus Mumba is also getting demoted because by that time, Levi Mwanawasa, the late president, had violated his party procedures and smuggled Nevus Mumba from the jungle, from oblivion, straight into vice presidency. So by October and December 2004, both men are demoted over the charges of being insubordinate. Both of them being insubordinate to their bosses. Emmerson Mnangagwa across the Zambezi in Zimbabwe is removed for being insubordinate, being overly ambitious, wanting to replace the president Robert Mugabe through his Cholocho stint, following his prophecy. And then on the other hand, across the Zambezi, Nevus Mumba is also demoted when he refused to retract statements that President Levi Mwanawasa had ordered him to retract. Now, Nevus Mumba, after that, does not come back into government. He only bounces back into government as a beneficiary of the death of the President Levi Mwanawasa, who was killed by Emmerson Mnangagwa per various statements that have been released inside the ZANU-PF apparatus. So Nevus Mumba suddenly bounces out into government as a beneficiary of the death of Levi Mwanawasa, who Emmerson Mnangagwa has killed, while Mnangagwa also bounces back into government as justice minister because Mnangagwa had told Robert Mugabe, organize your cabinet, don't worry about everything, I will kill people. And he killed hundreds of MDC supporters, MDC members, and he also killed Levi Mwanawasa per these disclosures that have come out recently. So he boasts, both of them suddenly are in government. Across the Zambezi, Mnangagwa is now justice minister. Across the other side in Zambia, Nevus Mumba is now ambassador to Canada, where he is unceremoniously fired. He's removed. Calls for his removal emerge just a few months after, when Nevus Mumba had been implicated in stealing money, allegedly stealing money at the Zambia's Canadian embassy. So quickly, fast forward, Both Nevas Mumba and Emerson Mnangagwa are in presidential politics. So they're on their fast rise to power for presidency. By 2014, Emerson Mnangagwa is plotting his way by using Grace Mugabe to remove Joyce Mujuru. Nevas Mumba is also plotting his way across the Zambezi in a different way. This time, he starts getting closer and closer to President Hichilema. Both of them are very, 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 very determined individuals. They operate on the spirit and the fire or the determination of so-called prophecy that they themselves created. The video of Nevas Mumba in 1996 has Nevas Mumba himself proclaiming that God has told me that I'm going to become president of Zambia. While at the same time, Mnangagwa is announcing through Andrew Taunashe, his chief prophet, that he is going to become president of Zimbabwe. 1996, and across the passages of time here, both men are after presidential power. But Nevas Mumba continues, and both men have a technique of finding ways to penetrate the corridors of power. They have to talk to so and so, impress this, and they have a way of just talking. They seem to be master architects of communication, that they can convince, both of them, they can convince anyone and anything. By 2017, Emerson Mnangagwa becomes president in a violent military coup. On the other side, Nevas Mumba is still in the wilderness, but working his way out, worming his way out, his way in, finding his way into power. Now what happens? All of a sudden, this man is then appointed a Sadc ambassador, someone who has been sent by Sadc to inspect, to monitor the elections in Zimbabwe. Now, Dr. Brilliant Pongo, who is a senior journalist on this news network recently, he passed his comment. He said, look, Nevas Mumba, there's something that you will hear in the Sadc Observer Mission. He says that in the Observer Mission, as it is being announced, there is something that sounds dodgy. In that, it seems to be while Nevas Mumba is criticizing Mnangagwa, which, knowing that background, is really friendly fire. What Nevas Mumba is actually doing is to project himself so that this becomes a Mumba show. He is actually calling it, is practically making this a Mumba show. And you can see in the way he presents even his Sadc report. Nevas Mumba says that he was sent by the president of Zambia. He does not emphasize that he was sent by Sadc. What is he trying to do? He is setting two national presidents, two presidents of two countries against each other, setting the narrative, making Hichilema vulnerable, so that other members of state, heads of states in Sadc, then can then say, look, this observer mission report that has been announced is a Hichilema project. But worse to that, Nevas Mumba has already invalidated the entire Sadc Observer Mission report by announcing that Zimbabweans are sanctions criminals. Zimbabweans who criticize Emerson Mnangagwa and criticize Hubert Anjo are sanctions criminals. So basically, if you criticize Emerson Mnangagwa and Hubert Anjo's gold smuggling, which is election rigging, okay, so this is election rigging, this is gold smuggling for election rigging. By the way, you remember the 240 million announced in the gold mafia? So if you do that, then you are a sanctioned criminal. Now, what does that mean? That lie by Nevas Mumba immediately feeds into the Zambian opposition, who are waiting for bullet points to use against Hichilema. In no time at all, you see these anti-Hichilema Zambian politicians starting to make press conferences where they're announcing that the CCC, the opposition, had rigged the elections using sanctions. Exactly borrowing exactly Nevas Mumba's words, Nevas Mumba's catchphrases. What purpose? They've been empowered for a purpose to sabotage the entire Sadc Observer Mission report, which is meant and which criticizes Emerson Mnangagwa. But now it is sanitized. It is neutralized by Nevas Mumba's sanctions report. So I confronted the Sadc Observer Mission head on the 27th of August. I called him by phone. I interviewed him for over an hour. And during that interview, Nevas Mumba, making his responses, refused to reverse his statements. Why did he refuse? You can ask him why he refused to retract his statements. I emphasize that Nevas Mumba's statements, they hurt and they destroy the future of millions of Zimbabweans. Why? Because they relegate every critic of Mnangagwa over his excesses of power, particularly here, this election rigging, gold smuggling, as sanctions criminals who are people who are fronting for the West. So what does that do? That then endangers millions of Zimbabweans. People will know Simbachi Kanza is the right? He is the only one who has stood to take a decisive action around the abuse of people, human rights violations, to the extent of confronting military generals, confronting heads of state, including Edgar Lungu, and assisting Zimbabweans with their difficult, unique cases to obtain not just journalistic facilities, but even legal as well, for the purpose of achieving the best. And now what Mumba's statement does, the pro-Mnangagwa statement, what it does, it neutralizes the Sadc Observer Mission report. It empowers Mnangagwa. It gives him authority to do what he wants. Now, Mumba knows these things, but he has refused, blatantly refused. So people should know about this. This is what has delayed me. It's made me now want to dig into who exactly Mumba is. What is his agenda? And what I'm laying to you right now is what I've managed to pull, the pile that I've managed to pull right now, which is that these two, Mapachka, my twins for power, they mechanized their operations. Emerson Mnangagwa and Nevas Mumba mechanized their operations, their push to get presidential power using prophecy. At a function in Johannesburg in 2006, him and Nevas Mumba and Emerson Mnangagwa mechanized this. You need to watch out for them. Watch out for what they are doing, because I am now convinced by the fact that Mumba refuses to apologize, refuses even to retract or to change his statements. I'm now convinced that he has no regard whatsoever for life, for human life. He doesn't care about human life, because if he did, he would have simply done that. We all make mistakes in life. All of us, we make mistakes. They said, make mistakes in life. So if he fails now, since he has failed to simply retract the statements that he made on behalf of Hubert and Mnangagwa there, he shows that he is someone who delights in the suffering of millions of people. And that makes me now want to even dig further, to want to know more about Nevas Mumba. And when I do that, I actually discover from his childbirth, from his upbringing, that Nevas Mumba benefited from he benefited illegally from the widow, the white widow who took care of him, according to a recent research that was done, that there's a widow whose property he illegally benefited ahead of her children when she died. And he has never apologized for illegally gaining that property from this white widow. I don't know what you think, Zimbabweans. First, he's a beneficiary of a dying white widow. Next, he's a beneficiary of a dying president, a direct beneficiary of a dying president who he himself had clashed with, that's Levi Mwanawasa. Now he's also a beneficiary of many, many thousands of dying Zimbabweans who are suffering. And he knows that these Zimbabweans are on their way to be killed by Mnangagwa, and refuses to just issue a statement or two just so that he can discourage these killings and these excesses. And then claims that his Sadc election report there, it is enough. I am shocked. But this is what has made me now to really dig deep, Aluad, and that is why I've delayed. So Zimbabweans, so that you can understand, this is where we're coming from. Someone is asking me, Simba, what's going on with the Mumba Zimbabwe situation? Please fill me in. I came late. Well, I've just been explaining there that I have found out that Nembas Mumba is not who he says he is. He is someone who is working with the gold mafia, is working with Mnangagwa, and this is very clear. And you will see it in the video even that he has done. You see it in my interview. He recorded a video, an 8-minute video, in which he practically designates every complaining Zimbabwean, every critic of Mnangagwa. He literally calls them, these people, to be those who are working in the interests of the West, who have put sanctions on Zimbabwe. And the sanctions that he's talking about don't even exist, because the Zimbabwe Central Bank has said that there are no such sanctions. So, it's a long story, man. You'll have to rewind. Now I'm getting a bit tired. But Zimbabweans musashandiswe, dzidzai, read. Do not idolize people, especially people who work with the mafia, who work with Mnangagwa. You watch the gold mafia and see it for yourself. Let's catch up tomorrow. Someone is saying here, is there a way out? Yeah, of course there's a way out. You just need to expose Mumba for what he did and demand that he reverses that statement. I believe there's a way out. So someone is saying, okay, I will follow up. Yeah, go on ZimEye and click this article. Let me just put it here so maybe it can help you. If I put this article here, then it will be clearer. Just hold on, folks. Hold on, let me just put the article here so that as we shut, you can actually read the article. I'm just putting it straight here. Just hold on. 2 seconds.
Introducing the future of pharmacy convenience. Say goodbye to long queues or sending money home to purchase medication for those in need. Say hello to hassle-free medication access. Order your essential medications online from anywhere in the world for delivery in Zimbabwe. We deliver to your door. Or you can collect. The choice is yours. Experience the convenience of online pharmacy services. Download the MedOrange app now. MedOrange, your help, your convenience. Introducing the future of pharmacy convenience. Say goodbye to long queues or sending money home to purchase medication for those in need. Say hello to hassle-free medication access. Order your essential medications online from anywhere in the world for delivery in Zimbabwe. We deliver to your door. Or you can collect. The choice is yours. Experience.
Right, so I've put the link there. It says Nevas Mumba reiterates saying Hubert Anjo Mnangagwa are doing good for Zimbabwe. Click that link. Have you clicked the link? Click the link, and then we can read it together. Click the link. Have you clicked the link? Have you clicked the link? You've got the link now. My click I yacho. 。 . 。  . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . 。 . . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . 。 . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . . 。 . Right. Klika irinki yoyo. Tifambe nenyaya handitika. Right. Mzazi kangana kuudza Passion Java kuti I download the Med Orange app, Med Orange. So if you just go on the app, nyora kuti Med Orange app in yes, for my prescription for maoko akai. Mudze muningi nayo kuti. Right. Zvanzi naSimba Chikanza. Simba Chikanza says, look, young man, I thought you said that you would let me just pull down here. Okay. Yeah, so tell Passion Java here that said, young man, Passion, I thought you said that you were going to download the Med Orange app and get your prescription done, processed. What is taking you time to do this simple thing? Just do it so that next time when I interview you, you've got clean hands. Sorry for saying it that way, but that's what people are saying here. And download the Med Orange app.
Introducing the future of pharmacy convenience. Say goodbye to long queues or sending money home to purchase medication for those in need. Say hello to hassle-free medication access. Order your essential medications online from anywhere in the world for delivery in Zimbabwe. We deliver to your door. Or you can collect. The choice is yours. Experience the convenience of online pharmacy services. Download the Med Orange app now. Med Orange, your help, your convenience. Introducing the future of pharmacy convenience. Say goodbye to long queues or sending money home to purchase medication for those in need. Say hello to hassle-free medication access. Order your essential medications online from anywhere in the world for delivery in Zimbabwe. We deliver to your door. Or you can collect. The choice is yours. Experience the convenience of online pharmacy services. Download the Med Orange app now. Med Orange, your help, your convenience. Introducing the...
Right, here we go, folks. Do press the share button. Let's catch up. Don't forget to download the Med Orange app. You've got the rinky there. Right, here you go. Good evening. Thank you.